And to further unpack this big story, we have live in studio economist Francois Stofberg. Thank you so much for joining us here on Morning Prime once again. Let's first talk about the fundamental impact of each decision. What benefit will Britain receive if they leave the EU?
Well, it seems as though the contention is around three major topics. Bloomberg did a very good cover trying to explain both sides of it. And the one is on trade, the other is on membership, the membership fee that they specifically have to pay, and the final one, of course, on immigration, which they always bring up. So trade between UK, Europe, very important. 44% of UK trade is with Europe, and all those trade will have to be renegotiated. So the one party says that if we stay, it's good for us because we have this 44% trade. The other party say no, this share of our trade has been declining quite severely over the last couple of years. So if we actually are not constricted to having to trade with the rest of the European countries, we can access the very large and faster growing outside of European zone. So they're playing that off between one another. But as it stands, their economy is at least 2% bigger because they have been a part of the European Union, which was up until now also a very fast growing region. So looking forward, they're playing this scenario off to one another. Then the other one with the fee to be in the European Union, that's not really a big issue. It's £18 billion annually, which sounds like a lot, but after subsidies and everything else, it's only about 8 billion. Which is 0.4% of their GDP, which isn't a lot. I think it comes down to like 30 cents per person per day for being in the EU. And the third one is the very important one, is the immigration. Now, an interesting fact that a few people are aware of is that actually more non-EU members flow into Britain than actually EU members, EU immigrants. So, and it is a very important inflow of individuals, because now once again they play both sides. If we remain, we have all these extra employees, possible employees coming from Europe, which actually aids our economy and aids the minimum wage. It actually helps to increase wages. And then the other guys saying, no, they're taking some of our jobs, which isn't completely true up until a certain extent it is. But the major problem is actually that a lot of them are coming in and living off our social assistance. So that's what they keep on playing off with one another. But those are more the direct. I think more of the larger impact will be on the trade renegotiations between Europe and Britain. The one very big thing is that they are a central hub in the global financial markets for finances. Investments, banking, everything happens in London. Everyone knows that. Now, they have a very good agreement that if they are based in London, then they can service any client anywhere else in the European Union. But if they leave Britain, they will have to start opening a major division in every one of the separate 28 countries. So that's a large cost. So that is where it starts hampering on South Africa's growth.
And we'll come back to South Africa a little later on in the interview. But will Brexit bring about a recession, as the Bank of England believes so?
Well, I think that's a bit of a long shot. And once again, yeah, we listen to everyone's opinion, but the Bank of England, they are very accurate in their predictions. So with them saying something that is actually bold and can be quite devastating, it is definitely a possibility. It is definitely a possibility because, as I said, their major sector is the finance sector. And if that finance sector is hampered and they have to carry all these massive additional costs, and money does not stop flowing to Britain that they use now as a centralized hub, because the very nice thing is that we are in the middle of the world, if you want to see it like that. So the time zones are perfect in London to trade both the eastern and the western hemispheres. Not hemispheres, yeah, east-west coast. You know what I mean? So they're central, and these agreements are central for them to be able to continue having this competitive advantage in the financial world. So it can lead to that, yes. I can't.
Now, where does the Prime Minister David Cameron fit into all of this? What does he say on the matter? And if Brexit were to occur, would he be shown the door?
Yes, well, his term is coming to an end, so this can help that out. I don't think that the Britons are the kind of culture that gets rid of presidents or prime ministers just off the bat. Yeah, it has happened, of course, in the past, but I doubt they're the kind of progressed culture that will do that now. Yeah, he's a bit on the back foot. he's trying his best, putting his story there. Really, we just heard him really going at it, trying to explain that these are the benefits, these are the costs, and he's trying to drive that home. And I think it's starting to translate into the rest of the British population. As we saw last night, some of the polls came out that suggested that it is now more in favour of staying than leaving. So his campaign really has. It has worked up until a certain extent, I would say.
And let's talk a little bit more about Scotland, which form a part of the United Kingdom. Yet reports suggest that they are adamant about staying with the EU, and if Brexit had to occur, they will bring about another referendum in order for them to stay in the EU. It seems like this whole long process here.
Yes, it is. It's the one thing that will then lead to a whole ripple effect of other things, and I think that's why the Bank of England specifically say that this can lead to a recession then. Yes, because the Scottish, earlier this year they decided to stay with the European Union, actually with Britain more than with the European Union, and they will. I believe they will call for another referendum, and they say they want to be a part of the European Union because they do understand the benefits of being part of those trade agreements, which is very good for any economy in that division. But the question now, and we see this whenever we go through a trough in the economic business cycle, we see a lot of these populist and nationalism and independence and everything coming to the fore because people are unhappy, and then the contentions point of the past becomes a very vocal point now, and people start hammering and leaning on that, and then you get all the politics and everything thrown behind it. So I think that's a lot of the story that's happening now. I don't think, once again, their culture is one of leave and breaking all these agreements, because in the end it will cause massive repercussions for their business, and their business is finance, and I can't see that happening.
And now let's move to South Africa. If Britain decides to leave the EU, how will this impact South Africa and its markets?
Yes, well, I think the best way to see it is, once again, through the financing side of things. We only trade physical goods with them about 3.5% of our trade balance, which isn't a lot, and I believe that will continue even if they do decide to go out of it. They take a lot of our platinum, and we import a lot of their technology. But it's a good trade agreement for us because it's in the surplus on our behalf, so we export more than we import from them, which is a good thing. Then specifically capital flows. Now this is where it gets interesting. I have some figures here. 45% of Britain's direct investment comes to South Africa. Or 45% of all foreign direct investment of South Africa's foreign direct investment, that's the rest of the world, money flowing to South Africa, comes through Britain. So that's a very large share. And a lot of our foreign direct investment first goes through London or through Britain. And then portfolio investment is almost the same. 30% of South Africa's global portfolio investment from the rest of the world is from Britain. So now if their financial markets and their large financial sector start being a lot more volatile, start taking a lot of hits because of leaving the EU, then that foreign direct investment portfolio flows gets hampered. The flows aren't so easy. There isn't so much capital to flow from those countries, and I think that's what we see on our markets. But markets are actually showing that they believe, or they're hinting towards a non-leave, that they will remain. But yeah, so direct impact on trade, I believe the 3.5% will stay, and then the portfolio flows, that will definitely be hampered, and we might see less flows to South Africa, which will then of course have a depreciation in our currency back to the 15 Rand 50 levels.
Now, in its history, has any member ever left the EU before?
No. Well, that's not that I can recall at all. No, it's that's why it is such a big thing, and that's we saw that the same thing with the Greeks for different reasons, of course. But and they all come to this conclusion that it is better to stay, even though we have the single currency, even though that keeps us from playing around with our own interest rates and everything to impact the exchange rate, which then helps inflation in the longer term. Or in another case, if you have your own currency, you can depreciate it to help your export. So these are, but even with these benefits, they believe that the additional benefits from being part of this union outweighs those costs, and it has proven to be true actually in the past. So no, I really can't recall anyone ever leaving.
Lastly, before we let you go, in your professional opinion, what do you think the outcome will be today?
I don't think they're going to leave. Yeah, it's a stay.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us here on Morning Prime.